Hey everyone, Trent here. So the other day I was thinking about how to have a bit of fun on the channel and do something a little different, and I thought to myself, hey, why don't I ramble about JRPGs? People love when nerds ramble, right? Time travel shows up in media all the time, but there are precious few franchises that handle it with skill and precision. It's a tough plot device to get to grips with, and more often than not, it results in a twisting tangle of mistakes and headache-inducing plot holes that happen when somebody inexperienced tackles something as—
God damn it, Barry Allen, I told you to stay away from the timeline!
Hold on, I can fix this. As I was saying, when someone without care tries to tackle time travel in their writing, most of the time it comes out as a gibbering mess. I mean, just look at comic books for how bad it can get when things get out of hand. There are so few properties that both make sense of the question of time travel and that are entertaining enough that I look past the plot holes that inevitably show up. One of them is Chrono Trigger, one of the greatest JRPGs of all time, and I will fight anyone who disagrees with me. Chrono Trigger is, at its heart, a simple story. Boy meets girl. Boy takes girl to the fair. Girl gets sucked into a vortex to another time and manages to undo her own existence by pretending to be her own ancestor. Yada yada yada. By the end, you're taking on a planet-destroying space parasite, throwing off the shackles of death itself, and getting a cave woman laid in order to propagate the royal bloodline. So, while it's not the most strange JRPG of all time, it definitely manages to find its way into the realm of weird. Now, if you're familiar with my writing for gaming website 01 Gaming, you'll have an understanding of my deep affection for Chrono Trigger. If not, I'll start by saying that I am not at all an unbiased individual when it comes to this game. It was one of my favorites as a kid, and I still hold it up as a highly enjoyable game to this day. It was made during what I refer to as the golden age of Squaresoft, back before they were Square Enix, and they had not yet created the unstoppable cash cow that is Final Fantasy VII. Chrono Trigger remains highly regarded among JRPG fans for a lot of reasons. Now, while I stand by my statement in a previous video that Persona 5 is probably the best JRPG of all time, there is a reason why fans have such a special place in their heart for this game. Let's start with the characters. The cast is smaller than a lot of games in the genre, with a maximum of 7 available PCs throughout the game. Now, with that few characters, they all need to carry their weight and be unique and interesting enough to command your attention. And with the exception of the silent protagonist who's never going to have a personality to begin with, and perhaps the optional character of Magus, they all pull it off pretty well. Each one has a distinct journey to go on, generally explored through side quests, but also highlighted in the main story as well. Marle may be a tomboy princess rebelling against her father, but she's also the leader of the group once Chrono comes down with a bad case of dead. The story follows her as she begins to realize that her father might be old and stubborn, and they may not agree on everything, but you don't have to agree with somebody in order to love them. Luca is an inventor who gets along better with machines than people, but there is a blossoming egomaniac just beneath the surface, eager to bask in the compliments of the rest of the cast at any opportunity. Something like if Bulma and Tony Stark had a baby that ended up poor. Frog is a knight from the Middle Ages wielding a magical, legendary sword, who is also an anthropomorphic frog with a crippling lack of confidence and guilt issues, brushing aside any and all compliments due to his belief that he's actually remarkably terrible at being a person. Robo is Pinocchio. If Pinocchio was built by Tony Stark, complete with lasers shooting out of his chest, and having to fight AIs who believe the only way to save humanity is to kill it. Even Magus, who everyone thinks is the big bad for the first act of the game, is interesting in his own way. He's all the gloomy broodiness of Sephiroth, but with a proper motivation. Magus wants to call forth the time-devouring super beast in the year 600 AD in order to get revenge for it murdering his sister in the year 12,000 BC. Look, time travel is weird even when it's done well. The most boring character is probably Isla, who is a cave woman from 65 million BC. And even she gets a few moments when she drops the "I'm a stupid primitive ape" act long enough to shed some light on the world and those in it. She even gets one of the more noble moments in the game, offering a second chance to her greatest rival, in the hope that she'll get a better fight out of her in the future, and I'm beginning to think Akira Toriyama's input went a little bit beyond just designing the characters. Now, I started this video talking about time travel, and it is something that is at the heart of the story in Chrono Trigger. The whole plot revolves around whizzing back and forth through time in an effort to undo the apocalypse in the far-off year of 1999, when the demonic Lavos emerges from the ground and destroys everything but a few pockets of survivors. Everything works on something I like to call linear time travel logic. You can travel to various time periods ranging from prehistoric to medieval to post-apocalyptic, and make all the crazy changes that you want. However, each time you revisit that time period, your changes have already been taken into effect and you can't go back to alter them further. For example, one of the first things you have to do is save the Queen of Guardia in the year 600 AD. Despite using the same time portal each time you return to the era, you never return to any point when you haven't rescued the Queen to, say, warn people of her impending doom. Any changes you make to the timeline are felt in the future, but you're unable to go back and change those changes, which is probably the only way to keep a consistent plot in a game involving time travel. My suggestion to anyone who wants to include time travel in their stories or their game is immediately, don't. However, if you absolutely must go down that long and lonesome road, then be like Chrono Trigger. I mean, that's actually pretty good advice for any developer looking to delve into the JRPG genre. Be like Chrono Trigger. Somebody put that on a t-shirt. What would Chrono do? Oh, actually, you know what? Don't put that on a t-shirt, because the Jesus metaphor in this game is not something I want to think about this close to bed. So, what do you guys think? Does this slice of 90s gaming goodness get your nostalgia juices flowing? Does your heart belong to a different game from that era? Let me know in the comments below, and as always, be sure to like and subscribe. And if you're looking for some more modern JRPG goodness, check out my Twitch stream this Friday. The link is below. I'll see you next time.